Co-powered by SBI. Best है सबको पता है.
In association with
DS Group. Create what is worth creating.
Market fails to hold opening gains. The Nifty and Sensex fall 0.5%. The Nifty gives up 25,400. Nearly 40 stocks end lower. IT, banks and PSUs lead the fall, while Realty and Metal stocks buck the trend.
CNBC TV18 learns that Finance Ministry may create a 32,000 to 35,000 crore rupees fund to compensate oil marketing companies for LPG under recoveries. A cabinet proposal may soon be moved for the same, offering big relief to IOC, BPCL and hpcl.
Stocks of select housing finance companies and power finance companies perk up in trade over bullish brokerage commentary. For the last few trading sessions, we've been testing the higher end of the range. Today was the day where we tested the lower end of the range. We opened above 25,500 and thereafter we saw a decline. It's a Thursday. Good evening. You're watching us here on Markets Forward, your go-to show where we aim to get you all the key data points to get up for the next day trading day, while recapping what took place on D Street today as well. I'm Bangla Malu, with me, Vinny Motiwala. Vinny, today was a down day. We were down about 120 points. Given the sort of narrow range that we've been in over the last few trading sessions, it looks a lot more than what it actually was. But all in all, we're at the lower end of the range with 25,355 being where the Nifty is. The only difference between today and the other previous days is that at any point in time, if one was short, one did make money, or if at any point in time one entered a long position, one was losing money. So we opened at the absolute high of the day and we closed at the absolute low of the day. So that's a trend that we'll most definitely keep an eye out on. The other thing we'll be watching out for is the big underperformance that we're seeing on India VIX. India VIX is sub 12 right now, which is nearly a one-year low. With all the uncertainty that is there in the world, if the India VIX is not moving, then maybe is the straight pricing in some sort of complacency or not, is something we'll be watching out for. No problems with the mid-cap index. Yes, it was one give and one take for bulls and bears. We had around 1,400 stocks declining for about 1,245 stocks, which were higher. All set for earnings season, as one would say.
Absolutely, all set for earnings season. We'll start with all those IT companies coming out with their numbers. But yes, that's how the market setup looked like today. But here's what we have for you all on the show today. First up, we'll start with the top movers and shakers of the day with Hormaz, and then talk about few individual stocks, select housing finance companies and power finance companies that were buzzing in trade over bullish commentary. RSE as well as PFC saw a notable gain coming in after receiving upgrades from brokerages, while Home First Finance and other housing finance traded in the green as well. Last but not the least, we'll delve into the key market events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session. On that note, first up, let's go across to Hormaz, who's here from the big wall to talk to us about the top movers and shakers of the day. Hormaz, over to you.
It was a choppy trading day, to say the least, and even as the broader markets were slightly wobbly, the overall market was slightly wobbly. It was the asset managers that stood out in today's session. UTI AMC had a 52-week high. Also healthy gains for Aditya Birla, Sun Life, and the other AMC stocks too saw gains of up to 2% in today's session. Defense stocks were a bit of a dampener today. Motilal Oswal said they would wait for a better entry point in Bharat Dynamics. It showed on the stock price 5% lower today. And Solar Industries, Garden Reach and Peers too seeing losses of anywhere between 3 to 4% in today's trading session. Some of the newsmakers, a lot of it were brokerage reactions. PFC and REC, the consensus buy among analysts continues with the Morgan Stanley initiation, seeing gains today. Prestige Estates, the brokerage commentary after their business update shared yesterday, stock ending higher. Glenmark too awaiting updates on a very important development at the company. And Varun Beverages, after HSBC cut its price target today, the stock ending lower. But stocks that ended at a 52-week high in today's session. And of course, we did speak of Glenmark. When look at Sanatan Textiles, India Shelter, Gabriel, all the usual suspects, they are at a high yesterday and they are building on to those gains in today's trading session. Back to you guys.
Right, Hormaz, thanks a lot for that. Those were some of the top gainers today. We had Lemon Tree Hotels as well, which perked up in today's trading session. Something like an Acme Solar was up 10%, along with Borosil Renewables as well. Let's go across to our guest, Ambareesh Baliga, independent market expert, as well as Ruchit Jain from Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Ambareesh, let's start with the IT pack. The index was lower in today's trading session ahead of TCS's numbers. The street is not expecting much. But remember, seasonally, this is the best 2 quarters for the IT pack. With the stocks having underperformed, the Nasdaq having outperformed, the outlook for the US economy not as grim as what it was earlier. Would you hazard a bet on the IT pack? If yes, what would be your case? If not, then what's the case here?
No, I think it's better to wait for the management commentary more than the performance for the last quarter. I think the management commentary would be more important because clearly we need to see as to what sort of order flows come in. And as far as TCS is concerned, I think the wage hike issue is still there. And the margins again could be muted. So I think we'll have to see as to when do we see this uptick in margins and the order flows. I think that is most important to be watched out for. So across whether it's TCS, Infosys, Wipro, I think we need to wait for the management commentary.
Okay, wait out for some bit of a commentary coming in here. Ruchit, any thoughts just on the market levels that one should be keeping an eye out on? Today, obviously, like Mangalam was mentioning as well, we closed at the lower end of that range that the Nifty has been trading at. So what should we be keeping an eye out on now, as well as on Bank Nifty as well?
I think it's been last 2 weeks where we have seen more of a consolidation in the index. We have not seen any signs of any trended move coming in. Now, we have ended right just above the 20-day support, which is around 25,280. So the follow-up move tomorrow would be very important in case if the market breaches this 20-day. I think it's been almost 20-25 days. We have not seen the index going below that 20-day exponential moving average. Then we could see some more price-wise dip. Otherwise, it would turn out to be more of a time-wise correction before we resume the next leg of uptrend. And I think once we see this time-wise correction, there are many sectors or stocks where the momentum readings were a bit overbought post the recent run-up. That would also get cooled off. So we would watch out for that 25,280 mark closely in tomorrow's trading session. If the index manages to take support at that level on a closing basis, then I think we should see a resumption of the uptrend quite soon. But for now, it seems that we would see some more time-wise correction.
All right, some more time-wise correction as against price-wise correction. Let's get you some more on the IDBI bank stake sale. What we learned from sources is that the Indian government intends to complete the IDBI bank stake sale by October. Currently, remember, the government has frozen the draft share purchase agreement. Is expected to be signed soon. After this, the government will call for financial bids, and that's not all. They've also given an approval for 5 PSU banks offered for sale this year. While Bank of Maharashtra is expected to meet the 25% public float requirement through a QIP, other public sector banks, namely UCO Bank, IOB, Punjab and Sindh Bank, as well as Central Bank, can also go for the offer for sale route.
Okay. Surely keeping an eye out on those PSU banks as well as IDBI Bank is something that we'll watch out for. But stocks of housing finance companies were also buzzing in trade, and this was on the back of a positive brokerage note that's come in this morning. We had Gaurav joining in with us to give us more details on this one. What is the brokerage note highlighting as well? Gaurav, what are we watching out for here?
Well, yes, specifically from the housing finance space, now Bernstein is being a little bullish on the space. What they have done is that they have initiated a note on 5 companies. For Home First Finance, Aptus and Aadhar, they have initiated with outperform rating, and on this other hand they have initiated on Aavas and PNB Housing with market perform rating. First, let's talk about Home First Finance because this is their preferred pick even from the housing finance segment. What they're saying is that the company actually stands out well because they have demonstrated ability to consistently replicate their business model across the locations, and on the other hand they also have advantage in terms of smaller size, fastest growth and also superior productivity metrics, and that is the reason they prefer Home First Finance. Other than that, for Aptus, what they say is that the share of fixed loans is actually higher for Aptus, and that is the reason why this company can gain in an environment where rate cuts are happening. For Aadhar Housing Finance, they say that this is actually largest and the most geographically diversified player, and that is the reason why they prefer Aadhar Housing over other companies with outperform rating. But on the other hand, let's also talk about Aavas. For Aavas, they believe that the company actually lags its peers when it comes to yields and profitability, and that is the reason why they have initiated with market perform. And lastly, for PNB Housing, they actually like the business model. They say that the smaller ticket loan expansion is actually good, but aggressive expansion is something that they are cautious about, and that is the reason they have initiated with market perform. As a result, in a day, we already saw some good traction in these companies, but definitely watching out on this space, specifically given that the rate cuts are happening, earnings are coming, and now a positive note is also coming up from Bernstein.
All right, we take that point. A positive note coming in from Bernstein as well on this space. But stay with us. There were some power finance companies as well. They were buzzing in trade today. There was bullish commentary coming in, and IREDA too. The government allowed the firm to raise some funds.
Well, yes. When we look at power financing, it seems that the space has not lost its shine. First, let's talk about PFC and REC. Morgan Stanley has initiated a note. For PFC, they have given a target price of 508 rupees, and for REC, they have given a target price of 485 rupees. What they say is that if we look at the performance 2 years ago versus now, they have actually underperformed its own track record. But from here on, Morgan Stanley believes that the company can grow their loan book at 12%, and given that the ROE can be somewhere in the range of 17 to 19%. As a result, when we look at valuation, they believe that the valuation is still favorable because company has good asset quality, the loan book is very stable, and at the same time they are also trading at a favorable level. On the other hand, let's also talk about some NBFCs like IREDA. Now this company was in focus because government has allowed IREDA to raise funds via 54 EC bonds. Now these bonds are also known as capital gains bond. What it does is that it will actually bring down their interest rate and the cost of funds. Let's understand how. These bonds can be issued at a cost of around 5.25%, which is lowest if we compare it with the other instruments. And this was actually an ongoing movement for IREDA. Now this decision has come from government, which is actually a positive thing. Let's also not forget that in FY25, we have already seen IREDA actually lost around 20 basis points in cost of funds. So there was some benefit which was there, but we may see some more benefit coming in because of these instruments. Let's also not forget that the results are also due today, and we have already seen good set of numbers. Loan book has grown almost at around 26%. Disbursements have grown almost at around 32% on a year-on-year basis. So that is also one of the bullish trigger for the stock today. As a result, it ended with more than 2% gains.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Gaurav, for giving us a roundup in terms of housing finance companies as well as PFC, REC, as well as IREDA. But Ambareesh, I'm going to come to you. First, let's just talk about these housing finance companies. Obviously, we have this positive note that's coming from Bernstein as well. Your thoughts in the housing finance space? Is there anything particularly that you like? Home First Finance today was surely something that was buzzing in trade. Aptus Value is also something that they spoke about. Anything that you like here and where you find value right now?
See, this rate cut by RBI, I think that was a very big positive for the affordable housing space. And most of the listed housing finance companies are actually funding, mostly in the affordable housing space as compared to premium housing. So from that point of view, I think it's extremely positive for the housing finance companies. And here, other than the ones which you spoke about, I would be positive on LIC Housing as well as Canfin Homes.
All right, LIC Housing and Canfin Homes. Ruchit, on the charts, anything particular that stands out from this space?
I think LIC Housing Finance has seen a long consolidation phase, and it seems that the stock now is forming a good support base around its 200-day exponential moving average. In this entire consolidation of last 1.5 2 months, 580, 590 has been acting as a support whenever we are witnessing declines there. So the price-wise downside here seems to be very limited. So we believe that if one is looking from a positional perspective, then this consolidation offers a good entry point at current levels with stop loss below 580. Canfin Home has already seen a good up move, so this would be one stock where a buy and dip approach should be kept. And in case if we see any kind of retracements in the near future, this should be considered where risk-reward ratio would become favorable.
All right, take that point. Thank you so much for that. Let's talk about another important development that has come in from the Finance Ministry. They're considering a 32,000 to 35,000 crore rupee fund to compensate oil marketing companies for LPG under recoveries. And this is as per sources. The proposal will soon be moved for cabinet approval. Timsy, what are your sources telling you? Because it was very recently that we had the management of one of these oil marketing companies join us, and they said that they have been assured by, enough to be taken care of from the ministry when it came to under recoveries.
Well, that's right. What government sources are indicating to us is the fact that the Finance Ministry could soon move a cabinet note, a proposal to create a fund of about 32 to 35,000 odd crore rupees, which will be helping the OMCs to overcome their under recovery sort of a thing that they have from the LPG, the losses that they were bearing on this. And this is for the last 15 months that these OMCs were having these losses, these under recoveries on account of LPG, and that's what the government is now looking to address. Petroleum Ministry, for that fact, had actually demanded 40,000 crore rupees. And right now, what sources say that the Finance Ministry is currently assessing what is the exact quantum of under recoveries which can be addressed. And given this fund will be created. To be fair, Union Cabinet will be approached to give a clarity on this or to give an approval to use these funds for OMCs. Now, where will this fund come from? Well, this is going to come from the collections that the government is having on account of excise duty collections on petroleum, so that is going to lead to the proceeds to this fund. When we speak to the officials, they said that the government view is that oil companies are part of the same government family. Government does not want OMCs to suffer. Thus, compensation will happen soon. Right now, government is assessing what should be the exact quantum of under recoveries and based on which this particular fund can be moved forward for a cabinet approval. Let's see how soon Union Cabinet decides to allocate this fund to OMCs and how soon the cabinet gives a nod, something that we'll have to wait and watch for. We'll keep you updated.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Timsi. Ruchit, anything on the charts and technicals that you're looking out for in terms of these OMC names or IOCL, BPCL, HPCL, anything there?
So IOC looks interesting in these names, although HP and BP also has a good uptrend, but both these names have already seen a good price-wise up move. Whereas IOC, after consolidating post last quarterly numbers, has recently given a breakout from that consolidation. So here, I think a catch-up move would be seen, and although it's not that high beta name, but a slow and gradual up move towards 165 could be expected in IOC.
Okay, thank you so much for that. But, thank you so much, Ruchit, as well as Ambareesh for joining in with us on the show and helping us understand different stocks and what they look like right now as well. But with that, we're going to slip into a very short break. After the break, we'll get you top corporate voices along with key market events to watch out for on the other side.
हो गया एडमिशन?
यस, अब बस लोन बाकी है।
एजुकेशन लोन के लिए SBI रिलायबल है। कोलैटरल फ्री लोन्स, टैक्स बेनिफिट्स, गर्ल्स के लिए इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, कंसेशनल एंड मोर,
सबको पता है।
SBI एजुकेशन लोन्स रिलायबल है, सबको पता है।
सर, नो ट्रैक्स।
Class partition systems by Ozone makes the world go.
Delivery boy has picked your order.
We know you are hungry. The message notification said it would take 30 minutes.
We can't just rely on a message.
Didn't you sell some shares yesterday?
Yes. So
did you check them?
I got a message.
You can't just rely on one message. If you make any transactions in the stock market, cross-check the SMS or email you receive from the stock exchange with your Demat account as well as bank statement.
Beta, when one's hungry, the brain doesn't function properly.
सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
Welcome back to Markets Forward on CNBC TV 18. Now, let's go across to the top corporate voices that we had during the day on CNBC TV 18. So, firstly, we had SmartWorks, the co-working space that is IPO for the company has opened up for subscription today. And speaking to CNBC TV 18, the firm's top brass said that it had signed an additional 1.5 million square feet in the last 3 months. SmartWorks is focused on mid and large-sized enterprises. and is projecting an EBITDA margin of 12.5% in FY25. The firm has also seen an increased demand for Indian companies and homegrown startups as well. The net debt is expected to be around 200 crore rupees post the IPO.
All right, with that, we'll also talk about Pearl Global, the management of garment suppliers. They joined in and they said that they'll have to ramp up capacity and capabilities on the back of good traction right now. They've seen good demand coming in from the Vietnamese operations, and they've added that they've ramped up their Vietnamese capacity itself by 25 to 30%. They're optimistic that the US imposing lower tariffs on Vietnam will cause a shift in demand. Further, the company is also preparing for options just in case Bangladesh attracts higher traffic.
And finally, we had Vijay Thadani of NIIT Learnings, who told CNBC TV18 that 30% of its business currently comes from European markets. And he said that the acquisition of MST Group has given the firm a significant advantage and should add 20% to its revenue from Europe. Now, he added that the margins would be in a similar or slightly higher range from the current levels.
Right, and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that the NBFCs are no longer shadow banks but systemically significant entities. In fact, she spoke at the NBFC conclave, the Finance Minister, who said that the NBFC credit should aim to reach at least 50% of the total volume disbursed by scheduled commercial banks by 2047. So that's a target that she's been given to the NBFC community. Hear out what she had to say.
NBFCs, I want to tell you in front of the Department of Financial Services Secretary, you're no longer shadow banks. You should aim to reach at least 50% of the total volume disbursed by scheduled commercial banks. Not a big number, considering in the last 4 years, you've doubled. 24 became 48. By 2047, at least 50% of NBFC credit should be directed towards high growth and high impact sectors.
And before we wrap up this edition of Markets Forward, we bring you the key events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session. Ria is standing by to give us that list. Ria.
Yes, let's take a look at the key events to watch out for tomorrow. The UK releases its GDP, industrial production and trade balance numbers. Over in the US, the monthly budget statement and the IEA's oil market report will be tracked closely tomorrow. In India, watch out for the Q1 FY26 earnings from Avenue Supermarts, Aditya Birla Money and Elcon Engineering, among others. On the corporate side, Mahindra Logistics and Religare Enterprises will both have board meetings scheduled to consider fundraising options. And apart from this, NSE is set to launch its electricity futures tomorrow, so keep your eye out on all of these events.
All right, with that, what we'll do is take your leave on this edition of Markets Forward. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18 with all the news and updates coming in for you after this short break. Stay with us.
Co-powered by SBI. Best है सबको पता है.
In association with
DS Group. Create what is worth creating.
SmartWorks Co-working Spaces Limited now proposes an initial public offering of its equity shares. The 100% book-built offer is being offered at a price band of Rs 387 to Rs 407 per equity share of face value of Rs 10 each. Offer opens on Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Offer closes on Monday, July 14th, 2025. For risk involved and other details, please refer to the red herring prospectus dated July 4th, 2025, which is available on the website of the company, the SEBI, the BRLMs and the stock exchanges.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्राइम क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र.
When the market moves, we don't just report, we decode.
From the boardroom to the trading floor, we track what's driving business and impacting investor sentiment.
With insight that empowers and guidance that builds wealth.
Nuvama presents CNBC TV18 Market Central.
For your daily source of market intelligence and wealth creation, with a commitment to doing it right.
5,000 crore guidance. It's not ambitious at all. It's very
conservative, really.
It's very conservative. It's where some of these big guys were in 21. We're going to start that journey now. And I feel we can catch up very soon. We want to be a brand selling 20, 30,000 crores, and we can.
People think we are very aggressive, but if you actually, somebody looks properly into the whole math, what we do, it's always a calculated downside move, whether it was WeWork, or whether the REIT was there, whether our tie-up with Blackstone was there. Everything had a math which secured everything and kept us stronger as a foundation, which didn't get disturbed with COVID coming in.